Welcome back to the program. We continue with Good Morning Kenya. Time for our last conversation this morning, and our focus is on domestic workers. We want to better understand what the plight of domestic workers is and what also makes them, do the things they do in regards to the stories that we've had, and just try to get the balance in regards to that. On set, I'm joined by Irene Nelima, who's the project officer for domestic workers, and this is at the Center for Domestic Training and Development, CDT. Irene, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. You look so happy and excited.
I'm a happy person.
You are?
I think naturally, yes, I'm a happy person.
And you're happy to be alive?
So much. And I'm just happy to be who I am today. Yes.
Happy to be alive because right now we are having a lot of stories surrounding COVID-19 and the way we are on the third wave.
Yes.
Being told to keep safe.
Keep safe and all that. Yeah, so you wake up, you find yourself alive. Why not smile? Why not be happy? Just be happy.
And give thanks.
Yes.
Okay, now we want to talk about CDTD, the Center for Domestic Training and Development, what you do there as a project officer, and please try and understand more about domestic workers, especially here in this country. But how about we just start from the top in terms of understanding? When we say domestic workers, what do we mean, or how do we even define that to better understand what exactly we're talking about?
So I'll start by saying this. Thank you first of all for having me here, and thank you for having this conversation. I think first it's very important, by the way, to define what a domestic worker is.
Yes.
Because it was just the other day I was on Facebook and I saw what a domestic worker actually defined what a domestic worker is.
So defining herself.
Defining herself and other domestic workers, and how the most Kenyan households view domestic work and domestic workers. So she was like, a domestic worker is somebody who is not supposed to be clean and smart. They're not supposed to wear nice clothes. They're not supposed to eat good food. They're not supposed to rest. They don't have feelings, so you can do anything to them. And me, I felt so bad when I saw that.
They don't have feelings?
They don't have feelings, so
this is her defining herself and other domestic workers.
And other domestic workers. And how we view them as employers and households.
Yeah.
Basically, domestic worker is anybody who is working in your house, in a household. Of course, na hiyo arrangement ya payment, that is a domestic worker. Sometimes we bring in domestic workers from our relatives. Sometimes it's from the people we don't even know. Sometimes we just go to the bureaus, get somebody to come work for us. So a domestic worker will be anybody working in a household, working on that agreement ya payment. Yes, now that is what now makes it a job, because there is a pay to be paid.
A pay to be paid.
Yes.
Okay, but how you've described it from that post that you saw is actually how I will say most of us want or would view domestic workers, at least here in Kenya.
Yes.
But why do you think would want to view them as people that do not have feelings? They do not have to be smart. They can be paid whichever way and whatever way you want to pay them. Why do you think we have that kind of mentality and notion?
I think that mentality comes from a point where, back in Kenya, back in history some years back, a domestic worker mostly would be somebody who they have no formal education, somebody who is from a very poor background, and we took advantage of that. We thought we can pay them anything we want, because after all, it's like I'm doing you a favor. You are living in my big house, you are sitting in my nice couch, you see. So
you are eating
my food, which I'm providing, my expensive
Sleeping
food,
in my house.
My expensive house. So you see, I think it's the mixture of all those things that generated into that, because of how, okay, I'll tell you one thing is that no woman in Kenya, no girl in Kenya grows up saying, when I grow up, I want to become a domestic worker.
We don't even hear of such kind of things.
In fact, if your child tells you that today, I'm sure you'll beat him or her a beating.
Like, why can't you think of something else?
Why can't you think of being a doctor? Other people becoming pilots and engineers and what have you, you see. So we haven't embraced domestic work as a profession in Kenya. Yes, and like I shared earlier, currently we have a curriculum for domestic workers. So that let us deal with this issue here. You are uneducated. you are a nobody, you come from a poor background. Domestic worker, get these skills. Call yourself a profession in your area because that is what you're doing. And it's not a bad job.
Okay.
Yes.
Actually, now this brings me back, brings me rather to now what you are doing at, in the organization or in the program there.
Yes.
The Center for Domestic Training and Development. So I'd love you to tell us a bit about that, you being a project officer for domestic workers, what, it's all about the CDTD, what you do there in the program.
Thank you. So I'll say CDTD is so passionate about women empowerment and in particularly domestic workers. This is a special group of people for us. The organization was founded more than 20 years ago by one Mrs. Edith Morogo, who
that
after
was in
employing
2001?
Yes. After employing one or two domestic workers in her house, she felt like something is missing here. These girls are coming to her, their self-esteem is really low. They look like they are so broken. On top of that, they don't have skills for this job, which really is the case. Is the thing in most cases.
Okay.
You get somebody from Ushago, they don't have these skills, yet you expect them to do it perfectly to your standards. Hey, I'm just from Shags. I've never seen such a coach. I've never seen such a big screen.
Oh, wow.
I don't even know what a microwave is. Leave alone the toilet. Me, I'm used to a pit latrine.
You think a fridge is just a kind of a box?
It's just a box that I don't know how to open it and I don't know what it is for. Yet you expect me to give you perfect results to your
and anytime
standards.
you spoil it, it's chaotic.
Wow.
In that
Your
chaos.
salary is gone.
Wow.
Yes. So after her seeing that, she started training domestic workers. She recruited 5 from Kibera and she was training in her house. She normally gives us this story and we go like, hey, woman, you are so determined in this journey. So what she'd do, she'd even go to her friends' homes and just request them, let me train them for you, please. Let me give them
And
these
that was
skills.
for free?
For free. She'll do that for free. Okay. Why? She wants to empower these women. She wants to build their self-esteem back. She wants to make them feel like it's a job like any other, and which is something that is lacking in Kenya, by the way. I think Kenyans, we should embrace domestic work. Let us embrace home care management training. Domestic workers, go for training, get skilled. Yes.
Before we continue further and even talk about the skills that you impart to this, the domestic workers that you have on board, I just want us to retract a bit and not to sound in any way biased or something.
Yeah.
Because it's always a question I'd love to pose anytime you're having a conversation surrounding women and you're saying that, part of people that you take is actually women, which makes me think, what about the male domestic workers? And again, it makes me think, are we doing really so much for women and just leaving that man on the side or the men on the side?
Not really.
Okay.
That is not the case for us because we also train male domestic workers. It's only that when we are comparing the statistics, the domestic workers, female domestic workers are the majority as opposed to men. Men is very few percentage, and it's not only in Kenya, even worldwide, according to the ILO. Yeah, statistics shows that women are mainly in domestic work than men. But we also train men, we also place men. We've done that before. And we're still doing that. Yes.
Why do you think that is the case, by the way? Is it because, as we think domestic work, ni kazi ya nyumba, so ni mama tu anaweza fanya?
Okay, that is true. You see, from our society, how we even brought up at home, we feel like kazi za nyumba ni kazi za wanawake. So you feel like maybe even in your home, you've never seen your dad cooking, you've never seen your dad taking care of maybe your younger brother. So all these chores were left to women because we were brought up knowing these are chores for women. Women should take care of children, take care of home, and make sure everything is okay at home. So that is even why you get most men shying away from domestic work because they feel like, hey, I'm a man, me, I can't go washing sufurias kwa nyumba ya mtu. I can't be controlled by a woman. I can't have a woman boss wa kuniambia, we Jose, haujaosha hiyo, Jose, kuja panguza. You see, the patriarchal system again does not allow that. Yes.
So that is also one of the major key reasons.
Yes.
All right, let's go to the skills that you are imparting in this, the young women or the women at large, or even the men that you have in the program. Which skills are these and how helpful are they to them?
Well, I tell you, these skills are so helpful. And personally, if I knew about this before I went into domestic work, because I've been one some years back, I think I'll choose skills first before working. So the course is called Home Care Management course, like I shared. The curriculum was launched in 2018. NITA is the examination body.
Well, there's even an exam.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
As we are speaking, currently we have domestic workers doing a NITA exam currently here in Kenya. And our center is one of the centers.
All right.
Yes, so you just have to identify and go get trained, and you get certified. So you can do internal exams, or you can do NITA. But mostly people who are doing NITA are migrant domestic workers, those who are going to work in yeah, for
outside the country.
Outside the country, yeah.
So these are the areas like we talk of the Dubai and the Middle East areas.
Middle East specifically.
Specifically,
yes.
All right.
Yeah, Middle East. They're required to have those skills. So under the home care management course, we have 7 units. And on top of that, for us, we say it's mandatory. You have an 8th one, which is life skills. Because now life skills breaks it down everything. So we have the first unit is housekeeping, everything cleaning. And then you have laundry work, everything washing, ironing, washing machine, hand washing, all that. And then you have basic cookery. So don't expect a chef, but expect somebody who can give you a good basic meal. And then we have childcare, basics on handling children. We have home nursing in case you have somebody who is unwell at home. We have basic of that. And then we have pet care for those people who love dogs, cats, and all that.
This is actually an extensive program.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we have waste disposal. How do you dispose waste at home? Have I not mentioned anything? I think I've mentioned
all of them.
Yes.
Okay, you talked about the sort of like a special or specific to those that would travel abroad or in the Middle East. What is so specific or special about the training that we'll get, which might be different from those that would work here in the country?
The training actually is the same for those working in the country and those ones working in the Middle East. Only that for those ones now traveling abroad, they also have an extra unit called pre-departure. That is now what makes the difference. Okay. Yeah, they get pre-departure, but local workers don't. Yes. So
that is the only difference, but
that's
everything just cuts across. You said that you had your own experience, and I want to believe this is part of what gave you passion into doing this, and at least to ensure that you're part of the program that enables to train domestic workers.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about your story.
My story is I started domestic work because I became a domestic worker. It's not because I dreamt of it. It's not because I was so proud of it that time. And I really tell domestic workers, if you're not proud of your job, I understand you, but with time, you will be. So I came into domestic work because of responsibilities. I became a mom at a very young age, 19, 20. I had a baby. And in Kenya, you are 19, what do you have? I didn't have a high school certificate. I only had a primary certificate and no any skills. So what's the only job available for you? It's domestic work. So I came to domestic work in Nairobi. All the way from Kitale, I came to Nairobi. I'd never been to Nairobi.
That was your first time?
My first time.
Which year is this?
That was between 2010, 2011 to 2014.
Thereabouts, so it's quite some time back.
Yes, quite some time back, yeah. So I came and I started working. Coming into my employer's home, I didn't know I have any rights. I knew it's do as she says.
You can't even voice?
How? I couldn't. I had this mentality of a domestic worker should be what the employer wants you to be. I didn't know there was anything out of that. So you are forced to wake up very early in the morning, go to bed very late, but you cannot question. You don't have off days, you cannot question.
You did not have any off days?
I did not.
So you're working from Sunday to Sunday?
Yes, that was my case.
And that is from morning to evening?
Yes, morning to evening. She had 2 kids. So I would wake up early, prepare breakfast, prepare them for school. I take them to bus stop, they catch their bus, I come back, do my duties, and then I'll pick them again around 3 or 4. They come back, I assist them in assignments kidogo kidogo because again, class 8 level, you can't do much. So the little I had, I assisted them where I could. And then supper, making sure everything in the house is just running right. Because domestic work, it's you one person taking care of the whole family. You are looking after the needs of everybody. If you wake up today na hiyo nguo yako hujapigwa pasi, it's on me. hii nguo ijapigwa pasi, I want to wear it. If breakfast is delayed, then everybody's going to get late. It's on me. So you have to be up before everybody.
And mind you slept
after
the last one. Had...
Yes, the last one. So that is domestic work. But it's not always the case. There are some employers who really are understanding. Yes.
So that was like, you know, would you say that your experience was so bad, or it was something you could perhaps manage? How was it like?
I managed. I would say I managed, because in that particular house I worked for 4 months. And then I left. And I didn't leave because of the condition of the situation, how it was, because, okay, me, I'm this African ushago mshamba girl mwenye unavumilia wewe mwanamke ni kuvumilia, you know, that's how I grew up knowing unavumilia.
And that's what you know.
Yes, like you cannot question, and so to me I would have endelea to vumilia, but some things made me move out of that home. Some things made me so uncomfortable that I had to go. One of them was I was being underpaid. When I was coming from Ushago, we had agreed I'll be paid 3,500. I came there the first month, second, third, fourth, I'm being paid 2,500.
And so, was it like a conversation you had with your employer? You know, like you're saying, yes, you had agreed. Yes. But now when you came to begin working, did you now talk about it, or you just saw month 1 to 5, month 2 to 5?
What happened is, when I came that morning, when she picked me up a country bus in the morning, so when we got home, and then it's so funny, let me tell you something. Mostly, a domestic worker will travel from Ocha. It's far from Ocha to here, Nairobi. But when you get to employer's home, it's funny because you don't even get time to rest. You come and immediately start working.
After those 9 hours
Yes, 9 hours of being on the bus, the whole night, because I traveled during the night. In the morning, she picked me around 6, and then she came, now this is my house, this is how we do things, 1, 2, 3, now you start kazi. So salary, yes, tuliongea. So I told her, yeah, but so-and-so told me you'll be paying me 3,500. She was like, yeah, I'll pay you 3,500, but not immediately, after I've assessed you. So you need to work for 1, 2 months, let me assess you, and see if I'll give you that 3,500. So what am I starting with? You start with 2,500.
So you had agreed to that?
Yes. Okay. But I thought maybe it's going to be 1 or 2 months. And then the worst part of it was, she was paying me in bits. My salary was coming late, and she was paying me in bits. So nikimwambia, hey, I need some money because, you know, I left my child at home. My mom also I need to take care of my child at home. So she'll give me 1,000 shillings. And then after like another 1 week, 500. So it wasn't something that it's consistent. If that kama ilikuwa 2,500, so she was paying me in bits, which was really annoying. Yeah, it's really annoying.
Wow. Yeah. And you know, just for our viewers to understand, we'll definitely come for that flip side of it, because again, we've also had so many stories of domestic workers standing against their employers. And we'll come to that in a short while. But I just want us to explore this bit of also the harassment that they too face themselves. And you're giving us your side of the story. And all, or if I can say, good number of times inakwanga to your issue ya payment. That is where it always starts or stems from. But which other issues perhaps have you come across, even for you as a person, or even in the program that you do for other domestic workers?
There is also this issue which is common, disrespect. Yeah. Domestic workers are mostly not respected in our homes. You find even children, they'll talk to you the way they want. They'll call you maid. Nilete.
Not even by your name?
Not even by your name. Nilete. They'll tell you just a mate here. So what can you do?
Wow,
so you
that
find
is hurtful.
It's so hurtful. And Aki, I'm human. A domestic worker is human like you, the employer. They have feelings like you. They also hurt. When you tell them something bad, they hurt. And that is why you see some of them now projecting this, they're hurting to the children and other family members. Yeah, because they cannot face you, obviously. So who can they face? The little ones. We cannot say it's a good thing. Nobody should get to that extent of hurting the children because of parents, but sometimes it gets there. Yeah, so there's that issue. There's also issues of sexual harassment in domestic workers, especially for young domestic workers. Yeah, that one happens sana.
Okay. Yes. Now, given the fact that you do trainings and you even told us that there you have exams, so clearly it's just a fully fledged course.
It is.
Why do you feel that if I can mention in the African context, or even in Kenya specifically, we do not have professional domestic workers. I know you've talked about the issue that it's not considered like, you know, like a job perhaps per se, but we see probably in the European nations or even in the States, would have a nanny and they are accorded respect because of what they do. So at least to some extent, there's a bit of professionalism there. But here, it's a total different case.
It's a total different case. Why? Because like I said, domestic workers, most of them, I would say, they haven't embraced training. You see, because it's through this training and gaining of these skills that now you're going to become now professional. But you find most of them have not embraced that. So how do you want to be regarded as a professional domestic worker, yet you have no skills? You're doing things kienyeji. So get skilled, get your certificate.
Get skilled, get your certificate. How would you want to be regarded as a professional domestic worker, yet you do not have skills? We'll be coming back to continue this conversation, and we'll be touching on that flip side bit of, you know, the conversation, that yes, there's a lot of issues that domestic workers face, but how about those that turn to their employers? Some will destroy property, some would even beat, and we've heard even of some just killing their children. That is what we'll be exploring after this. Stay with us.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii ya jitume mwenyewe kwa simu yako, bonyeza *811 *963 hash.
Unavyojikakamua kupata ufanisi, ndivyo utakavyofurahi baada ya kufanikiwa. Usisubiri kusukumwa na mtu, jitume mwenyewe.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii, bonyeza *811 *963 hash. *811 *963 hash.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Then my mother will start. Julia! Julia, come here. Look at this one. You have been given 4 bananas and your brother ate 2. How many are you remaining with? Then I would answer 4. She would give me poor coffee a single.
Mr. Tisha, please help me before the take it. Please help me, Mr. Tisha. Where will I get 350,000, Mr. Tisha? Where?
Mama Kinyanjui.
Caroline.
Caroline. Si tuongee kando kidogo,
I don't play such games. I don't need a man in my life.
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
Welcome back to the program. We still continue with our conversation, trying to better understand the plight of domestic workers in this country, and at least also part of what different programs can be introduced to help such domestic workers on set. I'm still joined by Irene Nelima, who is helping us debunk that. And now, just when you were off air, we're talking about the difference between a nanny and a domestic worker, because we tend to like sort of confuse that. And I want to pick the the comparison between the West and probably how we do things here in Africa, because there's actually a difference. Here we sort of like think need the same thing. You are a domestic worker, you just do everything. But what is the difference between the two?
What I'll say, when we talk about domestic workers, A nanny is also a domestic worker.
Oh.
A home driver, a private driver is also a domestic worker.
Okay.
Who else? A housekeeper, a laundry attendant, they're all domestic workers. But now it is you now to define what kind of a domestic worker, what type of a domestic worker are you looking for? Is it a nanny? A nanny will be purely for children, taking care of children.
Nothing else.
Yes. Making sure the children are okay, feeding them, their clothes are well arranged and clean, their room is neat, everything children. If you are looking for someone to do general housework, then that is now to say they'll be doing laundry work, housekeeping, childcare. You see, if you are looking for somebody to do home nursing, it's specifically to take care of that sick person or that elderly person in your home. So it's you to define. Yes, they're all domestic workers, but who do you want? What is your category? Is it a laundry attendant? Is it a childcare, a childminder, or a nanny, like you said?
Yeah.
Or is it a housekeeper? Yes.
Okay.
So they all fall into that category.
Into that category.
Yes.
But then in Kenya, if I can again pick an example, why do we like mixing both? Because you would, you know, we will, yes, like you mentioned, we'd call them domestic workers, but it falls under different categories.
Yes.
Here would pick one person
Yes.
who will do laundry, do the housekeeping, take care of the babies, do everything.
Yeah, in most setups in Kenya, that is what we do. Why? Because we are cutting cost.
Oh.
Or maybe we are not able to afford these 2 different or 3 different
yeah.
workers. So yeah, let me get one person who will handle everything. And sometimes it gets overwhelming to that person.
Yeah.
So much overwhelming. Because I cannot be taking care of 2 children. Both they need to be fed, to be clothed, to be washed, everything. I still have a 5-bedroom house to take care of. I need to cook for you, I need to cook for the children. It gets overwhelming. So if you can afford to have maybe somebody to do general housework and somebody to do nanny work, then that will be great. Yes.
Now let's go back to the program a bit, and you were talking to me about the fact that you also have exams.
Yes.
Like it's as serious as it can get for, you know, these domestic workers that you trained.
Yes.
Maybe you can at least make us understand a bit, you know, that exam process. Like, I mean, does it mean if someone fails, they have to repeat or resit the class, and the practical bits of it? What exactly does it entail? So that also for viewers to understand that actually when you say that you have a program that trains domestic workers, this is the people that we churn out at the end of the day.
So I'll speak for local domestic workers.
Yes.
After training, the training is supposed to take 120 hours. So if you're doing full-time, we can go up to 1 month with you. We offer boarding facility we have, so you can board there as we train. So we take up to 1 month. So the training itself is, the course itself is separated to practical and theory work.
Yeah.
So we, like kawaida, we start with theory and then you go to practical. So for instance, during exams, when we are doing theory, it's just writing. Yes, like kawaida theory. If you are doing practical, it's now me giving you, for example, Irish potato. I tell you, mash that and maybe prepare this kind of meal from that, you see. Or maybe I'll take you to the kitchen and operate that microwave for me, that rice cooker, that heater, that oven, you see, such things. Now those are practical. Yeah, so every unit has got theory and practical bit. Yes.
And all of that is assessed. So
Yes,
it means
yes.
that if someone fails, they have to reset.
You receipt.
You resit.
Yes.
And have you had such instances of people receipting? And probably if yes, what are some of the reasons that would make someone receipt such kind of a practical, you know, program?
You see, the matter of you receipting is not at you, ni umefail money. It's because we want you to get the best, so that when you go to the job, you're also offering the best. If, for example, you cannot do a process of diaper changing, then it means you're not ready for that job. So let's redo it again until you get it. Yeah, so sometimes somebody will miss a step or two, and then things goes that way, and then I tell you,
You
now,
have to
Nancy,
receipt this exam.
let's redo this one. Yes, so it's not like it's wasting your time, no, it's just making sure you have the right concepts, you have the right skills for you to do this job.
Yeah, and you become the best person who can do that
Now
particular
become
job.
a professional, and we call you a professional domestic worker.
With papers and certificates.
With paper certificates, and it comes with a good pay.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That is good, because you also have a bureau that, you know, people can come and get such kind of persons.
It's not really a bureau,
Yeah.
but what we do with local workers, after training, we place.
Oh.
Yes, so it's training and then we place.
So it means that after like class or school, you can actually get that job.
Yes, you get that job.
Very fast.
When we feel now, this one now is ripe for this job.
You are ready?
Yes,
okay,
she's ready.
Okay, have you had instances where you have had to like probably use different languages to train these domestic workers? Because the way you are saying, there are some that might come from areas maybe in the rural setups and they do not even probably understand anything.
I think that's the most fun part of this training, because we are allowed to train in Swahili, and where, for example, we don't get it, then I'll ask a fellow classmate, explain that in Luya so that she can get it. Explain that in Kikuyu so that she can get it.
Yeah.
Because you see, we are accommodating people who don't even have the basics, they don't even have their primary school education. So, and it is our mandate to make sure that everybody gets it. Because now if we reject you, where then?
Where will you go?
Yeah.
Okay, then how do you go about scouting or piloting for these domestic workers?
Okay, for local, I'll not speak for migrant workers.
Yes.
I'll speak for local workers. At CDTD, what we do, we have community mobilizers who've been working for so many years. So they mobilize huko mashinani for us, and then they bring us. Wakisha mobilize, we vet, we see, okay, so we have a good history, at least this person knows you, so you come to us. During that 1 month, it's not just training, it's training and also learning you. Let us see, identify some characteristics in you, some two things in you. And I can tell you, during that training, we are able to identify, this one can work in a house where there's a child, and this one cannot. So when we are placing, those are the things that we look at. Let's try to match you with the employer, a household that you will work best. Yeah, and we also encourage them, be open. If you're not for children, just tell me, hey, I really
This is not me.
I cannot do. If you're not for elderly, just tell me, where mimi hiyo siwezi. And we appreciate that.
Because again, we are different.
We are different.
Yeah.
We have different abilities. We do best in different areas. We're not the same. So when we are able to identify, now I know her. So now this one will suit well in this household. So to avoid conflicts here.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I want us to exhaustively just finish up on the issue of domestic workers, what they face before we go to the other side of it. And I'd want you to perhaps tell us, also from your experience and what you might have seen, you know, even in the program, have you had instances of either people that you train saying that, for me, you know, where I was before I even came for the training, I've really faced the issues of sexual harassment or even in form of harassment, and how do you deal with that in the program?
Okay, in the program, this one happens mostly during life skills. That's why I told you life skills is everything to us, yes.
And it's part of the course?
Yes, it's part of it. 40 hours of life skills. So during there, you will identify people who are traumatized during the training. And then if we have such cases, then we have a counselor. We refer you. We have a counselor at the institution. So you go, you get counseled. We don't want to take you to place you, you're still a broken person, you're not fit, you're not emotionally stable for that job. We want you very stable for the job. So we would go through that, we do counseling, and when you feel you're stable, you go, now we can now place you. Because we've had people who have gone through that. And apart from that, domestic workers, like I said, they are people. And like I also said, they didn't come here because they wanted to be. It is just circumstances that push them to that angle. So I'm coming maybe from a broken marriage. I'm coming like I left my child at home. It is not a joy for any mother to leave their children. Go live somewhere. You see, so there are all these issues. You carrying so much on your head. You have maybe a family which is depending on you for everything, you see. So you are coming here, and then one small thing triggers everything, and you blow up.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it becomes a reminder of the things that you're going through.
That is true.
Okay.
Yes.
Now let's go to the other side. Since I feel like we've already exhaustively tried to understand what is the plight of domestic workers, what are the things that they probably want to be done for, and all of that. Let's go to the other side. We've heard of cases, not one, not two, on mainstream media, on social media. We've heard of a recent case of a house manager or domestic worker, Gladys Naliaka, who went ahead and was just beating about, those those toddlers to some extent that she even went ahead and cut some of their faces. And you'd want to wonder, and the whole story was behind it was that the employer, the lady, wanted to fire her So she felt some type of way. And it would make me think that we could be here fighting for the rights of domestic workers, but on the other side, they turn against their employers.
Yeah, that was a very sad thing.
And it's not a case one or case two.
It's not a case one or two, that is true, I agree with you. And we cannot justify any. Because no matter what your employer has done to you, I always tell them, you'd rather pack your bags and leave.
Go.
You don't have to be there if it's not working for you. And you don't force employment. If they don't want you for one or two reasons, then respect that and leave. Do not project your anger to the children or to the other family members, because that is really, really, it's so bad. So, if it's not working for you, please go. You don't have, please go. Don't get yourself to that point. Okay. And what we do for us, after placing, we still walk with you the journey, both the employer and the employee. I'll be calling you, how are things, you as an employer, and the employee, how are things? So that in case there is anything, either of you will come to me. If you cannot sort it out, the two of you, then let one of you come to me like, hey, Irene, this is happening, I'm not happy about it. Maybe address it. Or this is not happening, it's happening, I'm not happy about it, I need a replacement, you see. And for us, we haven't, from the people we've trained, we haven't really gotten those cases, because training helps. Yes, you need to understand where you are, why you are here at this particular moment doing this job, and where you want to go. So that build the ladders which will take you to the next step, to the next place you want to be.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, Irene, since this is your expertise, in terms of training such domestic workers, do you feel like perhaps there could be underlying issues, to such persons? Because just the way I mentioned, we have had several cases of these domestic workers turning against their employers, and we would say nothing justifies that, especially if you choose to decide we want to destroy property or even beat up children. Some have even killing their, their employers' children. But do you feel like there could be perhaps underlying issues either between employer and employee, or the employee could just be having some cases of mental health?
It could be either way.
Okay.
Maybe she's experiencing something as an employee. Okay, I'll give you an example, but not that one ya kuchapa watoto na kuumiza.
Okay.
I could be having problems at home, me as an employee. Maybe my child is sick, maybe my father is sick, or maybe my relative, and they are my responsibility. I'm looking after them. So I want this money, or maybe I want to visit them, I want to go see them. But you as an employer, you don't want to understand that. It happens, like, hawezi enda, mtoto wako ndio ni mgonjwa. If you want to go, then pack your bags and go. Why can't you understand me? So it could be underlying issues between the two, or maybe personal issues. Like this domestic worker, the person you've employed, maybe they're not even mentally stable. Yes.
That could also be an issue.
That could be an issue.
But the way you're saying, nothing justifies.
Nothing justifies.
It is wrong, it is wrong.
It is wrong, it is wrong. If you cannot handle it, pack your bags and go. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Now let's come to another issue. This is the concern of an employer asking the health, asking for the health status of the employer, the domestic workers, coming on board. Like, do you have such kind of a disease? Do you have this and that? Do you think that is right, or is it a breach of, privacy?
Okay. That is a tricky one, but this is what I'll say.
Okay.
According to the labor laws, you do not discriminate people just because Nikona this condition of that one. As long as I can work. Yes, but those cases come up like, do you have this and this? Do you have this and this? In that case, we understand. You have maybe young children, you just want to protect your family. It gets there. We understand. Somebody is so concerned about their children, their family, and then we'll tell them then. If the domestic worker is comfortable, they'll go for the test you want them to. If they are not comfortable, again, they have a right to say no.
Wow.
Na wache kazi yako.
So does it mean that an employer cannot ask? Because just the way you're saying, I mean, this employer could be having children, and they also just want to ensure safety of their children in terms of health. You understand?
Yes.
So, and again, like the way we are saying, especially in the African context, these domestic workers would stay in our homes. Most of them were
so they are practically
like family in one way or the other. What would be wrong in an employer asking that?
Okay, I would not take an offense for an employer asking that.
Yeah.
And also, if she's comfortable, like I said, doing the test, then that is okay.
It's okay.
Yes, and I also encourage them, be open.
Be open.
Yes, be open. And actually, there is one lady I trained last year, and I saluted that lady.
Okay.
She was above 40 years old. She was HIV positive, and she would tell her client, as you are taking me, no, I'm HIV positive, but it does not mean I'll harm you or your family in any way. It is my condition, but I'm on drugs, but I can still work.
Wow.
Yes.
So that level of openness, again, also is dependent between an employer and the domestic worker coming on board.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Again, there's another issue of original IDs. We have had so many cases of an employer wanting to say, I would want your papers, or I'd want your credentials, or I'd want your ID, just to have it. Just in case something happens, at least I know where to find you. What would you say in regards to that?
Yeah, it is okay for employer. Even your employer here has your
My papers. Yeah, true.
The same thing. We're making it a professional. So when I'm coming to your house, I'll give you, but not originals, I'll give you copies. Copy of my ID if you need it, copy of my CID certificate, that one for, what is it called?
Compliance?
Not. This one you take for CID. Yeah. That one
as well as different other certificates to show your professionalism and skills,
exactly.
if at all you have any.
Yes. Okay. So I'll give you copies, but not originals. It is so wrong for you as an employer to keep original documents as your employee. Like you have IDs are original, you have their birth original. No, it is not right. So photocopies allowed.
So what of those that actually ask for the originals and they will stick to that and they would want to keep that? Is that a breach?
It is a breach.
Okay.
It is not right. Yes, it is not right.
All right. And what about those employees that would not even want to submit even that photocopy of the same to their employers?
Then question that.
Okay.
Something might not be right. Yes.
Fine.
What? Because if I'm just this upright person doing everything right,
why not?
Why not? Why not give you are my employer?
Yeah.
Why not give you a copy of my ID on all that?
It's like a form of like an agreement, between you and I.
Yes, and then normally for us, when we're doing placement, there's a contract which employee should sign. Yes. Employer saying I agree to these terms, and the employee the same thing. Yes, so there's a contract, and then on that contract, I attach a copy of ID, a photocopy ID, the employee, I attach to you, yeah, so that you take it.
Wow, together. Speaking of contracts to be signed, which is again one very important thing, because we work in these spaces without any signed agreement. So do you feel like that's the space we need to explore more as it pertains to domestic workers? Like take things the right way instead of those kenyeji way. You get a girl from Ushago or whatever place, comes, does work for you for even 3 years, nothing to show for it, no signed agreement. Is it an area we need to explore further?
I think that is a very important area. And one thing I'll tell employers is that get a domestic worker from a trusted source. Not, you see, sometimes referrals don't work. For me, I tried referrals when I was employing. It didn't work.
Yeah.
It went really bad. So referrals, sometimes they don't work, sometimes they do. And if we are really keen as employers and employees on making this job a professional, then why not have those contracts? Why not draw boundaries so that as I'm coming into a house, I know I'm coming as a nanny or doing everything.
Roles well stipulated.
Yes.
Okay, very quickly, let's talk about off days for domestic workers. Does it have to be an agreement between employer and the domestic worker, or domestic worker can suggest, I'd love to have off days on Mondays and Tuesdays? Or the employer can impose and say, it has just to be on Saturday or on Sunday?
You don't have to impose, but remember, labor laws in Kenya, they cut across. We don't have specific clause for domestic workers. It all cuts across.
True.
So the same way it says any worker should have 1 day after every 6 days of rest is the same thing now, domestic workers. But sometimes we look at it this way.
Yes.
Maybe your employer works on Sunday. And those are very important things that you need to put on table when now we are doing the contract.
Yeah.
Like my offs will not be on Sundays because I work on Sundays. So they'll be on Tuesday, Monday, or this other day. Yeah. If you're okay with that, sign that paper and then go. If it has to be a Sunday, then don't take that job.
Yeah,
Yes.
and again, that's why it's important, and that's why I was asking that question of, do we need to explore further on getting agreements instead of kienyeji things?
Kienyeji way doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Yes.
Very detrimental.
Yeah,
thank you so much, Irene, for your time and just at least expounding and making us understand more about domestic work in this country and probably what we need to do as a society and what they need to do even as domestic workers. Thank you so much. So that has been Irene Nelima, who's the project officer at Center for Domestic Training and Development, just talking to us again about the plight of domestic workers, what we need to do as a society and what they need to do as domestic workers as well. And that is where we bring Good Morning Kenya to a close this Wednesday. My name is Dorina Range from me, and on behalf of the entire team that made the show a success, we say thank you so much for watching. Till tomorrow, good morning.